Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a journal to share with you. This is actually a journal that I created a couple months ago using a DIY kit from By the Will for God. That kit is no longer available, but I did have some requests to show how I was going to fill it up. And so what I decided to do is use it as a way to do some memory keeping for a trip that I just went on. So at the beginning of September, I traveled to New Hampshire to attend the retreat that was hosted by Taryn. And the few days before the retreat, we actually turned that into a little bit of a mini vacation. So Scott and I did some traveling ahead of time. We did that last year and it was a lot of fun. And so I just have all of that documented. So I will put the videos showing how this journal came together if you want to see that. If you're interested in a kind of DIY journal, but you can't get this one, I know that there is another DIY journal in the By the Will for God site that you can get, just a little bit smaller, different format, but it would certainly work if you're interested, but I just thought I would throw that out there. But what I did is I added one of these file folders for each day that we were gone. So we ended up being gone 10 or 11 days for that retreat because, like I said, we traveled ahead of time. So I just did it kind of by day. So our first day was leaving Atlanta. We live a little bit south of Atlanta, and I have our traditional picture of coffee. And then for each day that we were traveling, I included a little map of the locations that we went just to kind of give an idea. So this first day we drove from where we live to Shepherdsville, Kentucky. We were actually going there for a church meeting where we attended for the weekend. And so on the second day, this is us actually going to church. My daughter met us up there too. We were able to have dinner in between services. That's my husband right there. Have just a little bit of notes. I kept one of the coffee sleeves from a place that we visited where we went and got coffee. And I just have some journaling tucked in there. That's my beautiful girl. And so we had intended to be there also for part of the day. Sunday, which is this day here, we're going to be there in the morning and then drive from there to Cleveland, Ohio. But my husband hurt his back, and so we ended up just kind of ramping up that trip a little bit. So we ended up having to call a doctor. He pulled something in his back. It was just a whole long thing. And so we got him a muscle relaxer. I saved the Walgreens bag just because I thought that was funny. And we got him a muscle relaxer prescription. This is kind of just writing about, all of the saga of that day. I ended up having to drive to Cleveland. We got there just in time to eat dinner. And then we went to see the sunset at Lake Erie, which was just beautiful. Had never seen the Great Lakes before, so that was awesome. And while we were there, on our walk, there was a couple of young men that were handing out these tracts for their church. And so I saved that as well in that little Walgreens bag. I just used that as a pocket to hold all of my little notes and things from that day, and then some of the pictures that I took while we were there. And then the next day we drove from Cleveland to Montrose, Pennsylvania, which is where we stayed for a few days. And we had a little cabin, a little Airbnb, more coffee. Obviously, again, I have that map included there. I created a little pocket here because I have just a bunch of pictures. I have our little cabin that we stayed in, and then I have my journaling card, and then there's just some really fun touches. There's like a really stocked coffee bar there, which obviously was a fan favorite. And then the host that we had, she had made this like delicious pumpkin bread, and it was warm literally when we arrived, and so good. And she even left the recipe. So I just wanted to include all of those little things in there. So I just created a little pocket out of some vellum to tuck all of those things in. And then the next day was really kind of our main idea for this trip. Scott usually finds something fun for us to do. Last year we went and did some candle making. This year we went to a glass blowing place, and we took a class in glass blowing, which was super fun. It was called Hands on Glass. And so this day is kind of really the pictures of us doing that. So I just had a pocket that I created, and then I have just all of the pictures tucked in here of Scott making his pieces, and myself, and then the lady, the instructor. And then we ended up just having dinner out that night. So I have the menu and where we ate, and then some journaling on the back of this one. And I created a little belly band here so that I could include some more photos, because the drive from Montrose, we drove from Montrose, Pennsylvania to Corning, New York, and we went to the Hands-on Glass place. We went to the Corning Museum of Glass, which was just incredible. So I had a lot that I wanted to include in terms of just writing about our trip. This was our first day at the Corning Museum. Just the glass exhibits were just amazing. This was a huge stained glass window. And then that night we made some s'mores. There was a s'mores bar at the Airbnb. And so we did that. That was just a lot of fun. Just a nice relaxing evening after our fun day doing glass. We created our pieces, and then we had to go back the next day to pick them up. They had to cool down overnight. So we ended up driving back to Corning again the next day. And so I have another picture from our drive there. And then I have the actual map in here of the Corning Museum, because we spent most of the day at the Corning Museum of Glass this day. There was so much to see. And I have just a funny story about a little coffee shop we decided to go to that it was local, and it said it was a coffee house, and it was really not. It was really just like the little homespun kind of diner. Coffee was terrible. It was hilarious. But Scott got some good pie there. And then, but these are the pieces that we ended up making. So we went first and we picked up the pieces of our glass. We each made a paperweight and an ornament. So that's what those looked like. And then we had dinner or lunch at a Mexican restaurant. And then we went to the second day of the Corning Museum of Glass. Our tickets were actually good for 2 days, which was good because there was so much to see there. So I just inserted some other pictures of the actual museum in here. I just created a little hinge and tucked that into this twine binding the way that I have it. And then just some notes about some of the things. I took a ton of pictures. I had to kind of narrow that down. And then on our way home back to the Airbnb, we stopped at a botanic garden and called Cutler Botanic Garden. And so I have the little information here, and then I just made a little hinge. So I have some of the images of some of the things that were there, the flowers, and not everything was in bloom, obviously, because this was the beginning of September. So some of the things weren't there, but there was just one of my favorite trees that I have found up north was there. And then I used this as like a little pocket to tuck in some of the receipts from some of the things that we did. So I have that in there. So that was that day. And then the next day was actually the day that started the retreat. So we drove from Montrose, Pennsylvania to Spofford, New Hampshire. And so that's what this little map is here. And this was a busy day, just getting set up. We had a busy day scheduled. And so what I did is I have my little name tag in here. I have the schedule for this day. So we had dinner, we had our goodie bag reveal, we had bingo night, and then I have some journaling just on the back of this card. I put this in here because these printables were made by Laura, and so I wanted to make sure to have those in here as well. I need to add some fabric to that tag. And then I just have a few pictures of Scott and Steve doing the emceeing for bingo, and then our goodie bags and my desk before it got totally trashed from creating all day. So that was Thursday. Friday was a full day at the retreat, and so this was the day where I had an opportunity to teach a workshop in bookbinding, which was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy being able to do that. So I have lots of pictures of all of the gals making their books, and some of these I stole from our Facebook group so that I could have them. And it was just a lot of fun. And then I have a card here that has this Taryn's dad preparing breakfast for us, and then some notes about that. I have Friday's schedule on the back of here, and then again just some journaling as well. And then I have some more of the printables kind of back here. We were kind of focused on Psalm 139, searched and known. And so I have those printables back there as well, because we had a devotional that I need to add into this journal too, but it's getting very, very chunky. So the next day was Saturday, which is always the group photo day. Jessa taught a class about doing a word study. Taryn each day, Friday and Saturday, did devotional with us in the morning. And so again, I have the schedule and just some notes, another verse here from that psalm that we were focusing on. This is our group photo. And then I have just tucked back behind there, I have some other photos of us and friends. I have so many photos. I didn't print out all of them. And I have a lot of the individual photos the day before of everyone doing the class. So I had just kind of have these tucked in here. And then Sunday was the day that is always the hardest because it's the day that we were leaving. So I have the start of our trip. It was a 2-day drive for us to get home. So we ended up stopping in Harrisburg, Virginia. But I just have a photo here. Being able to meet Laura was one of the highlights of my trip this time. So she's one of the ladies that does the artwork for By the Will for God, and she this is the first time we got to meet in person, so that was really fun, and just really, really hard to say goodbye to your friends after, you know, a fun-filled, refreshing weekend. But I have a little picture here of the gift shop in Spofford, and then our little drive there, and then our very last day is just another drive day for us. I have the map here. I have a little picture of the hotel that we stayed in. Of course, more coffee because it's not a road trip if you don't have coffee. And then I have some journaling here. When we were leaving Harrisonburg, we pulled into a gas station, and we pulled in right behind some guy, and he got out of his car, and I was like, man, he looks really familiar. And then all of a sudden we realized that we had pulled in directly behind some of our friends that actually live in Jacksonville, Florida, and they were on their way to Niagara Falls, and we just happened to stop at the same gas station. It was so strange. So, and then a few miles from home, we ended up with a low pressure warning light on our tire. We had driven over something, but that was like the only incident. We were just a few miles from home. I was able to take care of it the next day. It was no big deal. We made it safely, but I just kind of documented all of that. And then I actually created this as a little pocket. I have some more receipts and stuff that I want to include in there. But as you can see, that was kind of my little trip in a nutshell, and probably more information than you needed, but you can see my journal is quite full. So I'm glad that I have this little closure to keep everything in there. But I had requests to show what this looked like when I got it finished. So I wanted to share that. If you liked this video, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.